In a previous video, I dove into the conversation between Jesus and Nicodemus, and today I want to explore that a bit deeper, as some of you agreed with my take, others didn't. Let's delve into it together. Picture the scene. It's a quiet night in Jerusalem. Then Nicodemus, a Pharisee and member of the Jewish ruling council, approaches Jesus. He's curious, perhaps even a little nervous. He has questions that have been weighing on his mind. Questions about faith, rebirth, and what it means to truly see the kingdom of God. As we revisit this profound dialogue, let's put ourselves in the scene. Let's try to understand Nicodemus's perspective and the revolutionary ideas that Jesus introduces. Now, let's move into the heart of the conversation. First up, let's talk about the literary style and symbolism in John's Gospel. John's writing is distinct. He loves using deep symbolic language, like light and darkness or being born again. The conversation between Jesus and Nicodemus is packed with clever wordplay, especially in Greek. For instance, Jesus talks about being born from above, and Nicodemus completely misunderstands it. To really appreciate this, imagine the original Greek text. The word Jesus uses, anothen, can mean both again and from above. Nicodemus interprets it as again, leading to his confusion about physical rebirth. But Jesus is speaking about a spiritual rebirth, a transformation that comes from above, from God. This dual meaning isn't just a linguistic trick, it's deeply theological. It challenges Nicodemus to think beyond the physical and the literal. John's Gospel is full of these moments. The use of light and darkness, for instance. But the catch is that Jesus did not speak Greek and spoke Aramaic. This Greek wordplay, anothen, will never work in Aramaic. So as we revisit the conversation between Jesus and Nicodemus, John isn't just recording a historical event. He's crafting a narrative rich with symbolism, designed to convey profound spiritual truths. Now, let's move into the heart of the conversation. Next, the absence of this conversation in the Synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, is intriguing. None of them mention Nicodemus or this late-night chat. That's a bit suspicious. If such a powerful conversation really took place, wouldn't at least one of them include it? It's like 3 biographies of a famous person missing out on a profound speech that's included in a 4th one. You'd start wondering if that speech was added later. So why is this significant? The Synoptic Gospels often share similar stories and teachings of Jesus, giving us a broader understanding of his life and message. Yet they all omit this profound dialogue. This raises questions about the origins and purpose of the Nicodemus story in John's Gospel. Some scholars suggest that this might indicate a different theological focus. John's Gospel, written later, seems to emphasize deeper spiritual themes and a unique portrayal of Jesus. This conversation with Nicodemus fits perfectly into John's narrative style, rich with symbolism and theological depth. Now, let's delve deeper into this intriguing conversation and uncover more hidden gems. This approach leads some scholars to believe that the story was crafted to fit John's unique way of explaining who Jesus is. Now, let's consider historical anachronisms. Some parts of John's Gospel seem to reflect events that happened after Jesus' time, like tensions between Jewish Christians and other Jewish groups post-70 CE. John refers to the Jews as a separate group from Jesus and his followers, which doesn't fit Jesus' time but aligns with the period when the Gospel was written. Imagine a medieval movie where characters use smartphones. It feels out of place, right? This hint of later events suggests that the Nicodemus story might have been written with these later issues in mind. The context in which John's Gospel was written is crucial to understanding its content. The early Christians were navigating a complex relationship with Judaism and the broader Roman world. These tensions and challenges are subtly woven into the fabric of John's narrative. By examining these historical anachronisms, we can gain insights into the motivations behind the Gospel's composition. It's not just a matter of recording events, but also addressing the needs and questions of the community for whom it was written. This perspective helps us appreciate the depth and richness of John's Gospel, even if it means rethinking the historical accuracy of certain stories. So as we continue our exploration, keep in mind that understanding the context is key to unlocking the deeper meanings within these ancient texts. Let's move on to uncover more about Jesus and John's Gospel. The take on the narration of Jesus' life by the Gospel of John is clearly out of the actual timeline of Jesus. Here, the integration of later Christian doctrine is a key point. John 3:16, "For God so loved the world," is iconic, summarizing Christian faith beautifully. But it sounds like teachings from decades after Jesus. Ideas about salvation, being born of water and spirit, and believing in Jesus to avoid condemnation seem more like a polished sermon than a spontaneous conversation. This suggests that the Gospel of John might not just be a historical account, but also a theological document, shaped by the evolving beliefs of early Christian communities. Understanding this theological evolution helps us see how doctrines developed over time, reflecting the needs and questions of the early Christians. By analyzing these elements, we gain a richer perspective on the depth and purpose behind John's Gospel. So with this broader understanding, let's move on to unveil the mystery behind Jesus and Nicodemus. Understanding the role of oral tradition is crucial in piecing together the story of Jesus and Nicodemus. Before the Gospels were written, stories about Jesus circulated orally within early Christian communities. This means that the accounts we read today were shaped by years of retelling and interpreting, each storyteller adding their own emphasis and perspective. Imagine a game of telephone, but over decades and with profound spiritual implications. Oral tradition wasn't just about preserving history, it was about teaching and inspiring. Each retelling aimed to convey deeper truths and address the needs of the community at that time. So, when we read the story of Nicodemus, we should consider how it might have evolved through this oral tradition. The theological themes we see, like being born of water and spirit, could have been emphasized to resonate with the audience's spiritual journey. The big takeaway here is that the conversation between Jesus and Nicodemus might be more about imparting deep truths about faith to John's readers rather than recording a word-for-word historical event. Understanding the role of oral tradition helps us appreciate the depth and purpose behind these gospel narratives. I hope you found this deep dive insightful. Give us a like and subscribe for more videos like this. See you in the next video, and until then, take care.